that protect our families and neighborhoods by increasing funding for state and local law enforcement. This bill includes increased funding levels for the Burn JAG program and COPS hiring program to put our state and local law enforcement first. To ensure America is the leader in space explorations, maintains a competitive advantage over China, the fiscal 26 CJS bill also continues to sustain strong funding levels for NASA and its endeavor to return to the moon and beyond. The legislation also protects and reinforces constitutional rights, such as the Second Amendment, by reining in and refocusing the ATF. As shown by deadly floods in Kentucky and Texas and other places, now is the time to ensure the National Weather Service is equipped with the funding it needs to warn and protect our citizens. This bill does just that by appropriately funding NOAA's weather units. Overall, the provisions and funding levels in the fiscal year 26 CJS bill will protect our children, our families, our neighborhoods, and our country. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
I thank the gentleman. I'd now like to recognize the ranking member, Ms.
Criminals and prevent gun crimes. The bill further reduces funding for organized crime drug enforcement task forces, undermining our fight against the cartels and drug dealers that bring opioids into our communities, as well as for the Justice Department's National Security Division, which works to protect the U.S. against terrorism, espionage, and other threats to our national security. The bill also leaves women and children more vulnerable to violence by sharply decreasing funding for juvenile justice and Violence Against Women Act grants. It zeroes out community violence intervention and prevention grants, as well as hate crime prevention and prosecution grants. And the Justice Department's Community Relations Service, which for more than 60 years has worked honorably to help mediate and end community conflicts across our country, is eliminated. The Justice Department's OIG, whose work to prevent waste, fraud, and abuse at the department, should have strong bipartisan support, but is also cut by 30%. This cut opens the door to even more fraud and corruption. I believe that all of this is the wrong approach for the CJS appropriations bill. We should be investing more, not less, in the safety and security of the American people. Moreover, the Legal Services Corporation, which provides basic civil legal assistance to the poorest American families, seniors, and veterans, is cut by nearly half. Under this funding level, nearly 3 million fewer people will receive help with their legal problems, including over 8,000 in my district alone. This bill abandons our most vulnerable constituents who can't afford a lawyer when they're facing eviction, seeking safety from domestic violence, or are denied benefits that they have earned. Perhaps most short-sighted of all, this bill disinvests in the scientific research that drives American innovation, technological leadership, and economic competitiveness. This bill cuts the National Science Foundation by more than $2 billion, including a nearly total decimation of STEM education programs, abandoning the next generation of American scientists and engineers who will shape whether our country continues to be a leader or a follower in the global economy. As other countries are racing forward in space exploration and climate science, this bill would cause the U.S. to fall behind by cutting NASA's science account by over $1.3 billion. The bill also makes massive cuts to the National Institute of Standards and Technology, which has helped American industry overcome technical challenges, innovate manufacturing, and work on the cutting edge of technologies like quantum and artificial intelligence. I disagree with the bill's approach, and as I've said repeatedly, I believe that we should be doubling down on the investments in science that grow our economy and incentivize advancements that improve life for all Americans. Last but not least, this bill contains dozens of harmful policy riders that must be removed from the bill before it's enacted into law. I thank the chairman. However, because of these shortcomings and more, I must urge my colleagues to oppose this bill. I ask my colleagues to work together in a truly bipartisan manner to produce a bill that invests in safety, economic opportunity, and scientific greatness. I don't believe that these are partisan values. They should be our shared goals as Americans. Thank you very much, and I yield back.
Thank the gentlelady. I now recognize myself for remarks on the bill. Thank you, Chairman Rogers, and thank you, Ranking Member Ming, Ranking Member DeLauro, and to all our members. The fiscal year 2026 Commerce, Justice, Science, and Related Agencies Bill sets firm priorities: strengthening the safety of our communities, driving American leadership in science and innovation, and expanding opportunity in our economy. These objectives are achieved while enforcing higher standards of government accountability and protecting hardworking taxpayers. Each investment delivers real benefits to our nation and constituents. Our streets are made safer for American families and children. We confront fentanyl and the deadly scourge of addiction that has stolen far too many lives, a priority of this conference and President Trump. We also ensure robust support for local law enforcement and their work to protect our communities. This bill fuels American ingenuity, investing in NASA to push the boundaries of space exploration. Just as critically, it takes a firm stand against Communist China's efforts to steal U.S. technology, defending our innovation, protecting our enterprise, and securing America's leadership on the world stage. We meet these missions while securing savings to taxpayers and protecting the constitutional rights of Americans. We reiterate President Trump's efforts to right-size the federal bureaucracy and reverse the federal weaponization of the last administration. By confronting politicization and overreach at the Department of Justice and Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, we reaffirm accountability and the rule of law. Each investment makes America safer, stronger, and more prepared for the future. I thank Chairman Rogers for his thoughtful approach, and I strongly support this measure. With that, I yield back. I now recognize my good friend, the ranking member of the full committee, the gentlelady from Connecticut, Ms. DeLauro, for her opening remarks on the bill.
I thank the chairman and Chairman Rogers and ranking member Meng. It's a pleasure to be with you today, and I thank you for yielding. Let me share my appreciation for the subcommittee staff on both sides of the aisle, and in particular, Bob Bonner, Nora Fay, Faye Cobb, and Jamie Wise. I oppose the bill before us today, which defunds federal law enforcement and threatens public safety, continues Republicans' attacks on America's scientific supremacy, promotes waste, fraud, and abuse, and hurts the middle class and working families. We are in the middle of a cost of living crisis. President Trump promised to lower costs on day one, but instead, he and House Republicans are making the cost of living crisis even worse. The big ugly law handed massive tax breaks to billionaires and the biggest corporations, while Americans continue to struggle with the costs of basic necessities. While President Trump brags about the money he is stealing out of America's pockets and from small businesses through his chaotic and senseless trade agenda. Today, we are considering the last House Republican 2026 funding bill, which will raise costs for struggling American families, jeopardize their safety, abandon rural communities, and undermine efforts to ensure our trading partners play by the rules. Since taking office, President Trump's administration has stolen resources for programs and services across the federal government, including several in this bill that help to lower costs for middle class and working class, keep Americans safe and our economy strong, and ensure America is at the forefront of scientific innovation and discovery. President Trump has frozen programs that provide seniors, veterans, rural families, and people with disabilities with the skills and tools they need to access the internet, as well as emergency funding to help the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration
American economy. This bill cuts $144 million to the Economic Development Administration, one of the most important segments of this bill. Now, this follows, this proposed cut, the rescission the Trump administration has made of $3.7 billion, rescission of funds that had already been awarded to manufacturing firms across our country to improve their competitiveness and ability to meet fierce, unfair competition from unfair traders like China and Russia, diverting steel and other products around this world. And so this is another body blow when the economy needs lifting, if you've noticed what's happening to unemployment across this country. So with EDA having a 31% reduction, that's huge. Our country has lost 78,000 manufacturing jobs since the beginning of just this year. We should be investing in our communities to hang on to the jobs we have and creating jobs in places that are struggling. Surprise, surprise, one of those is Ohio, a portion of which I'm proud to represent. Okay, on top of this, in the middle of a nonsensical and chaotic trade war by tweet, as U.S. trade accounts amass more red ink, this bill cuts $183 million, or 29%, almost a third, to the International Trade Administration. That's like the diagnostic agency for where the disease really is. The other party always claims to want to help reduce the trade deficit. Well, folks, guess what? It's going up. And this is the key agency to help us diagnose a road forward, not backward, but it's being slashed. Trade wars have consequences. Trade deficits have consequences because they mean lost jobs and economic growth in our country.
It was so important to do it here that he did it twice. And in this one that I'm holding up, there's little red circles you might not be able to see, but the two guns are totally identical. The only difference is the one on the bottom is a ghost gun. And so the only difference of what had to be made or changed for it to be fully assembled was just removing those two parts. You had an addition
to strengthen enforcement of crime victims' rights within the DOJ. It also requires DOJ to report these findings to Congress to provide us with a clear understanding of how we can strengthen victims' protections and rights, especially in cases like Epstein's where charges aren't formally filed in court. I think we all want to make sure, or at least I would hope, that a plea deal like Jeffrey Epstein got can never happen again without making sure that the victims under the Crime Victims' Rights Act have the law followed and get the opportunity for them to face the person who hurt them and ensure that they can have their say on the plea deal. I have long fought for Epstein survivors to get justice and to ensure future survivors don't face similar mistreatment. And this amendment would advance that years-long effort. One Congresswoman Frankel, former Representative Jackie Spear, and I have championed alongside Epstein survivor Courtney Wild, a Florida native who bravely fights to reform a system that cruelly mistreated her. The Crime Victims' Rights Act, which is current law, was meant to protect the rights of all crime victims, to ensure their voice was heard in court, and to make sure they received timely notice of any major development in the defendant's case, including a plea deal. Yet Epstein's victims were never notified when U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta gave Epstein a sweetheart plea deal. This serial sexual predator got only 13 months in county jail.
The amendment is not adopted. Gentleman from New York, Mr. Morelli, is recognized for an amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have an amendment at the desk, and I move to dispense with the reading.
Without objection, the reading of the amendment is dispensed with, and the gentleman is recognized for remarks on his amendment.
Thank you, sir. This amendment would do two things to strengthen the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force housed within the Department of Justice. First, in response to the more than 20% cut to the OCD ETF, the majority included in this bill, this amendment would restore full funding to the task force. Second, in response to the president's budget request, which completely dissolved the task force, this amendment would ensure that no federal funds may be used to dismantle this critical initiative. Over 40 years ago, my now favorite Republican President Ronald Reagan, considering the alternatives, created the OCD ETF, he understood that if we were serious about improving public safety through fighting drug cartels, money laundering, and organized crime, we needed a coordinated, integrated strategic federal response that unites federal prosecutors, DEA agents, federal investigators, financial analysts, state and local law enforcement in a single focused task force structure. Since its founding, OCD ETF has expanded and adapted to meet evolving threats. It now targets not only major narcotics traffickers, but transnational criminal syndicates engaged in fentanyl trafficking, cybercrime, human smuggling, weapons trafficking, and financial crimes. These cases are prosecutor-led and intelligence-supported, which means they focus resources on high-value targets, not low-level offenders, but the command and
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise in support of my number 1 amendment, which would strike Section 568 from this bill. I offer this amendment in support of public safety and victims of gun violence. And like I think everybody in this room, gun violence is on our mind. With the tragic murder of Charlie Kirk, the shooting in a Colorado school, one at Kirk at a university, Colorado school, and I'm sure, sadly, shootings in many of our communities, whether they are rural, suburban, or urban. So I am very mindful that we are all worried about gun violence. As drafted, Section 568 limits ATF's ability to carry out its Demand 2 program. ATF's Demand 2 program was created in 2000 to improve law enforcement's ability to trace guns used in crimes by imposing additional reporting requirements on firearms dealers whose guns have been traced to criminal activity. Since 2000, the year 2000, ATF has regarded a Demand 2 designation as an important indication that a seller might be a popular destination for criminals to purchase firearms. Since the year 2000, ATF has updated its regulation for Demand 2 one time. That was in 2018, during the Trump administration, when the threshold of guns recovered in crimes was raised from 10 in a single year to 25. You can imagine my surprise seeing an amendment about the 2018 ATF regulation being attributed to the Biden administration, as we saw on the updated list of amendments, as it really is not true. It was not a Biden approach.
I thank the gentlelady, and the gentleman from Kentucky, Chairman Rogers, is recognized to address the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm proud that the House bill maintains strong support for state and local law enforcement, including increasing funding for the Burn and COPS hiring grant programs. This amendment directs funds towards the Community Violence Intervention Program, a progressive grant program championed by the Biden administration.
Tragedy. I look forward to justice. I know something like this, colleagues. Ask for
To address the amendment. Thank you.
This is about
Lady from New York, Ms. Bing, is recognized to address the amendment.
I rise in support of this amendment. Like the other amendments related to this matter, this is about transparency and accountability. To date, this administration has only released documents that are mostly old news and heavily redacted. They are not sufficient to help us get the faux truth of this terrible case. Therefore, I urge my colleagues to support this amendment, and I yield back.
Thank the gentlelady. The gentlelady from Florida, Ms. Frankel, is recognized to address the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Dean, for this amendment, which I rise in support. This amendment that says no funds may be used by the Department of Justice to block the release of records in regards to the Epstein-Maxwell case. Look, folks, here's what we know. Federal prosecutors uncovered evidence of an extensive sex trafficking operation that ran for 25 years. 25 years. It involved rape, coercion, and the abuse of hundreds of victims across multiple properties. I want to say that again. 25 years of sex trafficking of hundreds of victims across multiple properties. And yet, believe it or not, only 2 people have ever been charged and convicted: Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. But we all know this. The story of Epstein is not just about one man. Survivors have made it clear that he could not have caused this abuse or created this abuse on this scale alone. Others recruited girls, scheduled, transported them, opened doors, and looked the other way. And powerful figures may have participated themselves. For survivors, knowing who else was involved is about justice and dignity. They deserve to know who enabled their exploitation and who profited from their silence. And for the public, it's about trust. If the wealthy and well-connected can hide behind privilege and secrecy, then equal justice under the law is nothing more than an empty promise. This is bigger than one predator. It is about whether our society will confront systems of power that shield abusers, or whether we will continue to let silence buy protection. Survivors need the truth, the public needs transparency, and only with full accountability can justice be done. I hope we will all support this very good amendment. And I yield back.
I thank the gentlelady. Are there other members wishing to address the amendment?
To everyone who believes in Midwest magic, you'll always find it here at Culver's.
Midwest Magic Trend. After an August break, Congress is back on Capitol Hill and the clock is ticking for them to pass a budget. He's a freshman senator with only a few months in Congress under his belt, but Jim Justice says there will not be a government shutdown. Once members of Congress return from their August break, they have a month to pass a budget. Now, we spoke with Justice today, who says he feels confident that in the end,
Mr. Director, you and the FBI caught the assassin of Mr. Charlie Kirk. Is that right?
We have a suspect, yes, sir.
And you did that within 48 hours, did you not?
33 hours.
33 hours. Congratulations. We've had other political assassinations. Back in June, an assassin assassinated Representative Melissa Hoffman, Mr. Hoffman, Senator John Hoffman, and Mrs. Hoffman in Minnesota. You and the FBI and Minnesota state and local law enforcement officials caught the assassin within 48 hours. Did you not?
I believe that timeline's correct, Senator.
Congratulations. Sometimes we miss the forest for the trees. Good work. Did Mr. Kirk's assassin act alone?
Across the globe, we've all watched it early this morning as President Trump made his triumphant speech at the Knesset, and now he heads to the peace summit of world leaders in Egypt. I think that will be happening within the next half hour. Thanks to President Trump, today marks the historic dawn of a new Middle East, as well as the return of the official celebration of Columbus Day, which marked the dawn of a new era for all the world when Christopher Columbus, of course, arrived in the Americas, and as President Trump summarized, quote, paved the way for the ultimate triumph of Western civilization less than 3 centuries later on July 4th of 1776. For good reason, today is observed as a national holiday in many countries of the Americas and elsewhere, and of course, it's a federal holiday here. With regard to the history that's been made today, I just wanted to say that what we mark today, and the reason there was such rousing applause at the Knesset and is being celebrated, as you know, throughout the Middle East, the region, and around the world, is because this is, for the first time in 738 days, there are no living Israeli hostages buried in the tunnels and being held at the hands of Hamas. In just 8.5 months in office, President Trump and his administration have ensured the safe release and the return of all 20 living Israeli hostages from Hamas captivity, putting a lasting peace within reach for a region where we have all aspired to that for generations. This is a day of profound hope and joy for the entire free world, and a day only possible under the leadership and strength and fortitude of President Donald J. Trump. And everyone recognizes that, and they're all talking about it around the world. With this historic achievement, President Trump has accomplished what others have only talked about or even tried and failed. Time and again, President Trump is demonstrating that American strength delivers and ensures peace for freedom-loving people around the world. As we've said so many times, it's the perception of a strong America.
If you've got pink salt, apple cider vinegar, and baking soda in your kitchen and you're not using this recipe yet, you're throwing...
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Attorney General Bondi, good to see you. Welcome. I've been listening closely in this hearing, and I've heard over and over from my Democrat colleagues concerns about targeting political enemies, and they've accused you of all manner of things and the current president. I've also heard them said, and I just wrote it down because I wanted to be sure I heard it correctly. I've heard them say that Joe Biden never targeted his political enemies. Joe Biden never directed his attorney general to target his political opponents. That's interesting, because I could have sworn that yesterday we learned that the FBI tapped my phone. Let's look at it. We've got a list. Tapped my phone, tapped Lindsey Graham's phone, tapped Marsha Blackburn's phone, tapped 5 other phones of United States senators. Gee, it sure looks like targeting political opponents to me, and yet I haven't heard a word from that side of the dais about any concern whatsoever. We've got nothing but concerns today, but no concern at all for a Justice Department that is tapping the phones of sitting United States senators because who knows why. They don't like them. They're members of the opposition party. They're Republicans. They're conservatives. You've seen this document, Attorney General Bondi. What was going on here? Who ordered this? Who ordered the tapping of the phones of United States senators?
Senator Hawley, I cannot discuss the details of that right now for very good reason.
You're going to do a thorough investigation into this, I trust. Is that correct?
We will be looking at all aspects of this, and I have talked to Director Patel at length about
And
this.
you're going to figure out who was involved in this, who signed off on it, who knew about it. You're going to get to the bottom of all of it. Is it correct?
Yes, and I've spoken to Director Patel about it, and he is committed to doing this.
Well, I can tell you, we already know many of the details. We already know that this was ordered by the special prosecutor, Jack Smith, who reported directly to the Attorney General of the United States, Merrick Garland. And we know that Jack Smith was on his witch.
I want to ask you about a flood of videos that we're all seeing on social media showing immigration officers across the U.S. using pretty aggressive tactics. There was one from Friday showing agents pinning a Chicago TV station employee to the ground. She was later released without charges. Another shows ICE agents shooting an unarmed pastor in the head.
Look, I don't know the specifics of those examples you gave. What I do know is these ICE agents are under tremendous pressure. Many times you talked about, some people have raised a concern about them wearing masks and different things. Many times the Antifa people who are protesting against them in these, in Chicago, in these ICE-free zones, according to the mayor of Chicago. I think they're functioning and working under extreme pressure. I think they're doing a good job by and large. I don't know the specifics of the examples you just cited.
Are you going to look into it?
Well, we're going to look into the whole situation where you have these mayors who are
are you going to look
pressuring
into
back
the way
against
that
these
ICE
sanctuary
is
cities,
conducting
ICE-free
itself?
zones, where they're being harassed by Antifa protesters who are wearing masks and doing all kinds of things, where I think threatening the.
So you'll
the
only
actual
look into
federal
that side and
facilities.
not to make sure that federal.
Anyone struggling with memory problems should try this recipe before Big Pharma bans it. Attention, if you
Well said. Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A free press is right there in the First Amendment to the Constitution. But when Trump's federal communications chair was unhappy with some of Jimmy Kimmel's remarks, he said media companies, quote, can find ways to take action on Kimmel, or there's going to be additional work for the FCC. The next day, Secretary Hegseth announced that journalists at the Pentagon needed to sign a pledge not to report information DOD hasn't approved for release, including unclassified information. DOD reportedly rolled those rules back, but it wasn't Hegseth's first crackdown on journalists, and I worry it may not be the last. It is the job of a free press to uncover problems that DOD doesn't want people to know about, like military families living in mold-infested homes, or Secretary Hegseth texting classified war plans. Mr. Young, you were acting general counsel for DOD for most of 2025, and now you're nominated to be the Army's top lawyer. So let me ask you, Mr. Young, do you consider your oath to the Constitution to include the First Amendment?
Yes, Senator, I do.
Thank you. And shut down access to the truth. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I don't even know how we got there, because I tried to make it clear how many civil rights, it doesn't just boil down to one conversation, but I can see that somebody's campaign coffers really are struggling right now. So she gonna keep saying trans, so that people will feel threatened. And child, listen, I want y'all to tell me whether or not.
Do not call me a child. I am no child.
I want
Don't
to
even
find
start.
out
I am a grown
which
woman.
of those
I am 47 years
emails
old. I have broken
actually
more
have.
glass ceilings than you
Chairman,
ever
I am reclaiming my time.
You will not do that. I
Order.
am not a child.
I am reclaiming my time.
If you want to take it outside,
Mr. Chairman, the committee is not in order.
Order.
Point of order. Point of order.
Order. Chair recognizes Ms. Crockett.
No, point of order, Mr. Chairman.
State your point.
Is it allowed in the rules for a member to incite violence against another member? I mean, she said she wants to take it outside with.
Hey, I have the First Amendment right to,
And
young
so
man.
I'd like those words to be
I'm not
taken
gonna be a
down.
child.
I
I'm
am
not gonna
moving
be
to have
called a
those
child
words
by
taken
any of
down.
you.
I believe it's against the rules to
Going
incite
outside doesn't
violence
incite
against
violence.
another
You have a
member of
conversation that isn't.
The committee will
interrupting this
suspend.
committee.
The member will state the words he wishes taken down.
where she said that we can take it outside, which is direct violation against the rules, inciting violence against another member.
What rule? What rule? Cite the rule. How does that incite violence?
Mr. Chairman, there are, if I might point out, Mr. Chairman, there are decorum rules in the House of Representatives.
And the two parliamentarians are discussing this right now. We'll suspend for a second. All right. The chair's going to make a rule. What the gentlelady said was, we can take this outside if you want. And
Okay, so
that could mean you could go outside and have a cup of coffee or perhaps a beer, or, I mean, we have
seriously,
lots of conversations outside. So I'm going to rule that that it was, just a...
that it's okay.
That it's okay.
All right, and then point of inquiry.
And remember, this is a slippery slope you're going down, because we have...
Oh, you're going down the
committee,
slippery
as you
slope.
know.
So just the...
What if you were prepared for all those interview curveballs?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All of the mayors here today are actively working to harm the American people you represent. You all have blood on your hands. I'm going to ask a series of yes or no questions today, and I would like to remind all of you, you are under oath. I only want a yes or a no to my questions. My first question, do you acknowledge breaking into our country as a crime? Mayor Adams, yes or no? Do you acknowledge breaking into our country as a crime?
I acknowledge.
Yes or no?
I acknowledge.
Okay, Honorable Johnson, he's not going to answer the question. Yes or no? Is breaking into our country against the law? Yes or no?
Depends how you cross the border.
Okay, Mayor Johnson, yes or no?
Comprehensive immigration
not an
reform
answer.
policies
Mayor
are what's
Wu?
necessary.
Donalds from Florida.
Thank you, Chairman. This is my third term on the Oversight Committee. We've been talking about illegal immigration and oversight the entire time. I remember we had a group of this committee that went down to the El Paso section of the border. This was back in February, March of 2021. And during that time period, we were at one of the holding centers, and there were these buses that were coming to the detention facility, and they were picking up 30 kids, 50 kids at random, walking out of the facility. And when I went over to question the bus driver that was transporting these kids, border agents told me, as a member of Congress, that you're not allowed to question the bus driver. And of course, people knowing me, I didn't take no for an answer, and I repeated the question. And I was told that this bus of children was leaving El Paso and going to San Diego. And so what was occurring under the Biden administration is that they were busing unaccompanied minors all across the United States for one reason and one reason only. And that was because they did not want the press to see the pictures of kids in cages. They did not want to see our borders being overrun. They wanted to disperse that problem all through the United States. That is the reckless history of illegal immigration under Joe Biden and the Democrat Party. Mayor Johnston of Denver, you lamented earlier that there were 10 to 11 buses coming per day to your city. Did you ever talk to Joe Biden about why this was happening to your community?
Thank you, Congressman. I both reached out to Governor Abbott from Texas. He didn't respond, and I did.
Why would you reach out to Governor Abbott of Texas when it is Joe Biden, the former commander-in-chief, that opened up our borders? Why didn't you talk to him?
Well, our buses directly were being sent from Governor Abbott in Texas, so that was why we reached out to say we're happy to collaborate on a coordinated entry system. We understand no one state or no one city should bear the entire brunt of this, but let's collaborate. But I did.
So I'm glad you said that, because that brings me to my next point. Governor Abbott and Governor DeSantis, when they started moving illegal aliens out of their states who were bearing the brunt of what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were doing, and they've sent them to Denver, they sent them to Chicago, they sent them to New York, they sent them to Martha's Vineyard. The reason why they did that is because you four could hide behind the realities of illegal immigration on border towns all through our country and on cities and states who did not want to see illegal immigration, but did not have the political representation to go to the White House. And only when it showed up on your doorstep did you get upset. Mayor Johnston, coming back to you, how much did your city spend on illegal immigration? Do you have a round number?
Over the last couple of years, on all newcomers, whatever their status was, it's around $79 million since 2022.
$79 million. Mayor Johnson, Chicago. How much has the city of Chicago spent on illegal immigration?
If you're referring to the 2022 up to 2024 of the buses coming from Texas, roughly the same percentage of the state of Texas, about 1% of our overall budget.
What is that? Because we don't have the city's budget in front of me. Numbers.
It's 1%, and if you want the actual calculation, we can make sure someone.
You're the mayor. You don't have the math in front of you.
It's 1% of the overall budget over the last 4 years.
That's why you're a failing
which
mayor.
is the
Mayor
same
Adams,
number that
how
was
much did the
sent from
city of
us
New
from
York
the
actually
state
spend
of
on
Texas.
illegal immigration? Mayor Johnson, I already asked you. You don't have a hard number, and if you don't have a hard number, you're not running your city well. Mayor Adams, how much did the city of New York actually spend on illegal immigration?
$6.9 billion of taxpayers' dollars.
Yield back.
Gentlemen, you.
The police don't want you to know this, but the reason we always ask for your insurance.
This is Mr. Gill from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for holding this hearing. And I'd also like to thank the witnesses for taking the time to be here today. I know y'all are busy, so really appreciate it. Mayor Bowser, thank you to you especially for coming here. You've been mayor for about 10 years, right?
Yes.
Okay. And during that time, would you describe D.C. as a safe city?
Yes.
You would?
Listen, Mr. Gill, and it was brought up earlier by the Congresswoman from
The murder
Detroit.
rate in Washington, D.C. is the 4th highest of any city in the
I
country. Would you describe that as a safe
I
city?
have heard every statistic and factoid, and they're all different about where
Are you
our city.
disputing
No,
that Washington, D.C. is the 4th highest murder rate in the country?
I'm not familiar with that statistic.
You're not familiar with that
What I know,
statistic.
Mr.
This is
Gill,
your city.
Mr. Gill,
Respectfully,
excuse
this is
me.
your city.
What I respect.
You know how carjackings have trended during your time in office?
I know that they have gone down.
They're up over 500% since from 2014 to 2024. That's not a safe city. I don't think any person would call that a safe city. We'll move on. Do you agree that defunding the police makes our communities less safe, don't you?
This is what I want to say.
It's a straightforward question.
Yeah.
You're not
Well,
going to
this is
filibuster.
my-
Do you
this is
think
my
that
answer.
defunding the police
This
makes
is
our
my
communities
answer.
less safe?
What I know is that people have moved here. People have sent their kids here. People have started businesses here. We have record.
Does
we have
defunding the
record
police make our
visitation,
communities
and
more
so
or less safe?
those are the indications.
Does defunding the police
of
make
a
our
city
communities
where
more
people
or
want
less
to
safe?
live, work, and
You
visit.
won't even back your own police department right now. I'm asking you, does defunding the police make our communities more or less safe? And you won't give me a straight answer.
I've already answered that today.
And why don't you tell me again, do you
Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Bondi, good morning.
Good morning.
What became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI paid to Mr. Homan in a paper bag, evidently?
Senator, as Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full review by the FBI, agents, and DOJ prosecutors. They found no credible evidence of any wrongdoing.
And that was not my question. My question was, what became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI delivered, evidently in a paper bag, to Mr. Homan?
Senator, I'd look at your facts.
Are you saying that they did not deliver $50,000 in cash to Mr. Homan?
Senator, as recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full
A different
review
question.
by the FBI agents,
That's a
by
different
Department
question.
of Justice prosecutors. They found no evidence of wrongdoing.
That's a different question. What became of the $50,000? Did the FBI get it back?
Mr. Whitehouse, excuse me, Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to talk to the FBI.
The report to you, can't you answer this question?
Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to discuss this with Director Patel.
Did Homan keep the $50,000?
As Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, The
Okay,
investigation
never mind.
of Mr.
Never mind.
Holman
I can
was
see I'm not going to get a straight
full
answer from you to a very simple
by
question.
the FBI agents and the DOJ.
Do
They
you
found
know-
no credible evidence of wrongdoing. You know, you're very concerned about money and people taking money, and
Do
you
you
rail
know-
against
wait a
dark
second, wait a
money.
second, wait a
Yet you
second,
work with dark
wait a
money
second.
groups all the time, Senator
Wait a
Whitehouse.
second. Did you know whether or not in that investigation they looked at whether the 2024 $50,000 payment to Mr. Homan was declared by him on his tax returns?
Senator, I would be more concerned if I were you when you talk about corruption and money that when you pushed for legislation that would subsidize your wife's company.
The questions here are actually pretty specific. So having you respond with completely irrelevant far-right internet talking points really is not very helpful here. I'd like, Mr. Chairman, you generally like to have us be able to get answers to know, and we'll follow up with the QFR. And to the extent Patel wants to answer, that would be great as well. What happened to the $50,000? Did Homan keep it? Did the FBI get it back? If he kept it, did he put it on his tax returns? Pretty simple questions. Homan was the same guy who said there was a deal with Eric Adams. He said, if Adams doesn't come through, I'll be back. I'll be in his office, up his butt, saying, where the hell is the agreement we came to? Which brings us to the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee, because he was also involved in that transaction.
Yeah.
What became of the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee?
Yeah, Senator Whitehouse, to correct you for one moment, that would be the Honorable Judge Emil J. Bovee III to you.
Not at the time of this. He was an employee of the Department of Justice. And what became of the OPR investigation?
It's
into
all
his
pending litigation,
misconduct?
Senator. I can't discuss pending litigation nor personnel matters.
OPR customarily publicly says when there's an investigation, and at the end of it, they provide a summary. Why can't you say whether there's an OPR investigation and whether, if it's concluded, there's a summary?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
Even public ones.
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
Oh boy.
Because there are breakdowns in your area, there are drivers in your area.
If you live in the United States, there is something horrifying that is about to happen, and yet so many people have no clue what it is. I'm not talking about another virus or a lockdown or a war with another country. What's about to unfold is much worse, and the frightening part about it is it's being blatantly hidden from the American people. News outlets hardly touch on it. Politicians don't talk about it, and yet it's happening right under our noses. So if you believe things have just felt off lately, you're not alone. And if you want to protect you and your loved ones from what's coming, then listen closely. There is an emergency broadcast that was just posted online a couple of days ago. It's streaming for free online right now, and millions of Americans have already tuned in to watch it. I must warn you, though, it's eye-opening and unlike anything you've ever seen.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Madam Attorney General, let me ask you this question. Were you consulted by the White House before they deployed National Guard troops to cities in the United States?
I am not going to discuss any internal conversations with the White House.
You won't even say whether you talked to the White House about this?
I am not going to discuss any internal conversations with the White House with you, Ranking Member.
I noticed that. What's the secret? Why do you want to keep this secret? The American people don't know the rationale behind the deployment of National Guard troops in my state. The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
I've been on this committee for more than 20 years. That's the kind of testimony you expect from this administration. A simple question as to whether or not they had a legal rationale for deploying National Guard troops becomes grounds for a personal attack. I think it's a legitimate question. It's my responsibility. She refuses to answer as to whether she had any conversation with the White House about deploying national troops to my state. That's an indication, I'm afraid, where we are politically in this place. Let me ask you another question. I want to, if you will, hold on a second. Make sure I got the right page of facts here. You testified under oath when you last before this committee that before your appointment to Attorney General, you had served as a representative of some sort for the royal family of Qatar. There was an issue that came before you in May when President Trump accepted a $400 million luxury jet from the royal family of Qatar for temporary use as Air Force One before it's permanently gifted to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation. The Constitution unequivocally bestows on Congress the power to control whether any officer of the United States, including the President, may accept a gift, quote, from any king, prince, or foreign state, end of quote. And this gift clearly violates the statutory regime enacted by Congress. You've refused to answer a letter I sent to you 5 months ago asking the legal rationale you relied on to advise President Trump to accept this unprecedented gift from your former legal client. Can you make a promise today that you will disclose that?
Disclose what, ranking member?
I assume there was a letter or some sort of statement from your office to the White House to advise them that you felt it was permissible?
First, to address my role with Qatar, as I addressed with you during my confirmation hearing, I disclosed it in my SJQ. In private practice, I worked for Qatar for anti-human trafficking for the World Cup. That was my only involvement, and I made that very clear, and I'm very proud of everything I've done with anti-human trafficking. Obviously,
You know the real reason behind memory lapses? Well, I suffered with dementia for 3 years until I discovered this magical honey trick.
Madam Chair, Attorney General Bondi, at your confirmation hearing in January, made a clear commitment you would not politicize your position. We are here today at your first oversight hearing 9 months into your tenure, at a time when hundreds of career job, when over 1,000, because they were required to take unethical actions at odds with that promise, or feared that they would have to take such actions if they remained on the job. When over 1,000 former federal prosecutors have sounded the alarm about the unprecedented degree to which the powers of DOJ are being abused to go after the president's enemies. I approach this hearing with a heavy heart. As a former federal prosecutor myself, I served in a department that, whether it was under a Democratic or Republican president, would never use the office to go after the president's enemies or to hide the corruption of his friends. But today, the Justice Department has been used to cover up the possible corruption of the mayor of New York or of a high-level administration official taking $50,000 reportedly in cash in a bag, or a child sex predator who befriended the president and some of his cabinet members. And instead of preventing partisan weaponization, your department has engaged in a brazenly political prosecution at the president's explicit direction. The department has become President Trump's personal sword and shield to go after his ever-growing list of political enemies and to protect himself, his allies, and associates. My questions therefore focus on these two themes: the corrupt acts of his friends and prioritizing the political prosecution of his enemies. So let me start with the shocking allegations of bribery and pay to play. 2 weeks ago, 4 major media outlets reported that Tom Homan, the president's top deportation official working in the White House, took $50,000 in cash in a bag from undercover FBI agents in September 2024, just over a year ago. According to these reports, Homan indicated he would facilitate securing contracts in exchange for money once he was in office in a future Trump administration. Reportedly, this exchange was caught on tape. Rather than pursue this investigation without fear or favor, the department and the FBI under your leadership or that of your predecessor before you confirmed quietly shut it down. Once news broke, your deputy and FBI director issued a joint public statement confirming that the Trump administration closed the investigation. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt denied Homan took the $50,000, telling a reporter, quote, "Mr. Homan never took the $50,000 that you're referring to, so you should get your facts straight." So today I hope you can help us get our facts straight. Was that true, what the White House press secretary said when she denied Homan took the money? Did he take the money?
Senator Schiff, as I stated earlier, I was not in office. I was not confirmed when that was handled.
So does that mean...
Deputy Attorney General Blanche and Director Patel said that there was no evidence that Tom Homan committed a crime. Yet now you're putting his picture up to slander him.
No, I'm putting,
as much as you
his
can.
picture up showing an interview he gave with, I think, Fox, in which he was asked explicitly about these allegations that he took a $50,000 bribe, and he refused to answer. He said he didn't answer the question whether he took the money, so I'm asking you the question. Did he take the money?
Senator Schiff, I answered that question multiple times.
If you have dementia, never take Exelon in the morning. Almost no one knows this, but Alzheimer's and dementia have
Today, we'd be remiss if we did not make some remarks about the extraordinary historic moment, or many moments, that happened yesterday in Israel. The world's eyes are still fixed on Israel, where President Trump is welcoming home now the last of the hostages who've endured 2 years in Hamas captivity. I thought it was remarkable. I saw a video last night of one of the released hostages who made the point that as soon as the election was held in November in the United States, Hamas began to treat him and his fellow hostages much better. They fed them better, they respected them more, they changed the tone of how they treated them, they no longer spit upon them. As he said in his own words, elections have consequences. And he said or implied that the Hamas was counting on Kamala Harris to win and not President Donald J. Trump. But thankfully for the whole world, that didn't happen. And this is an historic moment. It deserves enormous credit and recognition on the world stage. It's truly, truly historic. For generations, we have aspired to peace in the Middle East, everyone around the world, and now President Trump has delivered it. I'm going to make an announcement today. It's the announcement in the U.S. that was made in the Knesset yesterday. I'm proud to tell you that together with my friend Speaker Ohana of the Israeli Knesset, the equivalent of our Congress, we're Iron Lady of the House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thanks for your continued work in calling attention to the facts. You remain consistent and concise in explaining to the American people that the Democrats have shut down the government. And thank you to the members of our leadership team and members of the entire conference who've been equally as vocal and engaged. I've listened to the arguments that Democrats have been making since they shut down the government, and I cannot help but shake my head in utter disgust every time. They continue to lie like a rug. They're trying desperately to change the conversation and deflect because they know they're in the wrong and they've dug themselves into a deep, deep hole. We've now entered day 14 of their government shutdown, and as the days go on, more Americans are feeling the pain. Make no mistake about it. This is real pain being inflicted upon real people. Today, 400,000 federal workers will receive partial paychecks. The Speaker called attention to this last week. This will be the last paycheck that these federal workers receive until Democrats grow a spine and reopen the federal government. Meanwhile, you have Chuck Schumer in the Senate who said in a recent interview, quote, "Every day gets better for us," end quote. His statement is as callous as it is tone deaf, and it reveals to everyone how the Democrats continue to use hardworking Americans as pawns in their own grotesque political game. I'll close with a quick observation. As the Speaker said previously, there's a real split screen here in Washington that the American people are watching. While Republicans are the ones who have voted and are continuing to vote to reopen the government, Democrats have treated their own shutdown as one big attention-getting activity. They've taken shutdown selfies, posted weird videos of themselves doing everything except working, and they even hosted a live stream that failed to gain any traction whatsoever. How embarrassing. These are not serious people. They continue to play a dangerous game with the livelihoods of Americans. And contrary to what Democrats believe, every day of this shutdown does not get any better for the American people. That's a stone cold fact. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chair Fox. And as the Speaker talked about, a lot of people say, why have the Democrats continued this charade of shutting down the government and inflicting pain, real pain on millions of families across America? And the Speaker laid it out real clear. Chuck Schumer filed an alternative bill weeks ago of his list of demands, literally a list of demands that he said have to be met before he releases the American people from this torrential pain he's inflicting. And it includes $1.5 trillion of new spending on far-left wish lists. Things like, yes, taxpayer-funded health care for illegals. It's in Chuck Schumer's bill. He guts rural hospitals, all as part of his demand to open up the government. It's not only not serious, it's also destructive. It's something that would actually hurt this country. And why? All so that he can show the radicals and the far left of his party that he's fighting Donald Trump. Everybody knows that's what this is about. Chuck Schumer is scared to death for his political future. He is way more concerned about his political job than he is about the jobs of millions of American families. And it's having a real impact on those families. Today, as has been pointed out, day 14 of the government shutdown that Chuck Schumer imposed on the country, and it is the day where checks would normally be starting to be processed for all of the government workers, many of whom will not get a paycheck because of Chuck Schumer's shutdown. You're already starting to see flight delays, families trying to go visit a relative, maybe go see one of their family members get married, go on a family vacation. They're not able to do that because of Chuck Schumer's shutdown. Our men and women in uniform at risk of losing their pay. And I will credit Donald Trump for a lot of things, but if you look, President Trump has not sat by and just waited for Chuck Schumer to get over his tantrum. President Trump has continued to do his job for the American people. And thank God, because the world is a safer place with President Trump at the helm. We saw that yesterday. What an historic day. And again, a real contrast to the temper tantrum that Chuck Schumer's having to appease the most radical elements of the far left base here in America. President Trump traveled to Israel, traveled to Egypt to sign historic peace accords, to oversee the release of hostages. Finally, all of the living hostages returned home to their loved ones after more than 2 years since the October 7th attack by Hamas. And one of the hostages, I think it's really important to hear this, because when you talk about real leadership, not just here in America, and the leadership that President Trump has provided to our country, but what that leadership means to the world, not only to our allies, but to the bad guys around the world. And yes, there are really bad people around the world. One of the former hostages who was released yesterday, Omar Shem Tov, credited President Trump with getting the hostages home. And he said, Hamas, quote, was very scared of Trump. They wanted Kamala to be elected.
Busiest time of the travel, busiest time to travel all year. And the list goes on and on. Why? Because Chuck Schumer and the Democrats would rather cater to the pro-terrorist wing of their party than to reopen our government. We've said it from this podium, it feels like 1,000,000 times, and we'll say it again. Republicans have done our job. We have a nonpartisan clean CR ready in the Senate to be sent to President Trump's desk immediately, tonight, if they will pass it. We only need 5 Senate Democrats to break ranks with Chuck Schumer, vote for the same CR that they supported just 6 months ago, and reopen the government for the people they were elected to serve. But they have refused to do so 7 times and counting. And each time that they do, hardworking Americans are forced to pay the price. Our message to Senate Democrats today is the same message we've been saying since September 19th. Stop the political games, pass our clean CR, and reopen the government today. With that, I turn it over to our conference chair, Lisa McClain.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. And like my leadership team behind me said, it is a glorious day. Think of what happened yesterday. Just imagine for one moment you are a family member of one of the 20 hostages that were released. I mean, think of how that had to make you feel. We all watched it on TV, right? Joy, exuberation. I mean, there were tears of joy. There was relief. There was peace. And that was done because of our president, Donald Trump, put politics aside and said, I am going to stand up for the people. And he brought peace in the Middle East. He talked about it, yes, but yesterday he did it. And actions speak louder than words. He said enough of the political games, and I'm actually going to do what's right. Now compare and contrast that to what's going on today. Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are putting politics over people. So instead of it being a joyous day that we celebrate, here we are in another government shutdown, 14 days in the making. And why? Just ask yourself why. It's clean, no gimmicks. It's absolutely clean. The speaker, the leader, the whip, we all said no gimmicks. Let's not use the American people as a pawn. Let's do what's right. Let's do something different and actually fund the government in the right way. What a concept. And Democrats, my goodness gracious, they absolutely do not want that to happen. Like the speaker said, Chuck Schumer wants all 4 leaders to get behind the scenes and make a deal. We're not going to do that. That's not how government is supposed to work. And I know I sound like a broken record, but the way to end this shutdown is really, really simple. Pass the bipartisan clean funding bill that the House approved weeks ago. The Republicans voted to keep the government open. Call your Democratic senators. They're voting to keep it shut, not us. So when you ask what negotiation, there's nothing to negotiate. We already passed. We said yes, right? Democrats won't do it. They'd rather please their radical base than put America first. Listen, I'm grateful to President Trump for finding a way to keep milk flowing to moms and babies through the WIC and paychecks going to our troops. Yes, I'm happy, but that's not going to last forever, right? So there again, he's even putting people over politics. I mean, come on. But let's be clear. These emergency measures can't fully fix the Democrats' damage. He can try, but at some point in time, they're going to end. Sadly, as Americans suffer, Democrats, what do? They celebrate. As workers worry about their paycheck, Bernie Sanders worries about his leverage. As TSA agents and air traffic controllers show up without pay, Democrats brag they won't budge until planes fall out of the sky. Really? Really?
Here's why.
why your knee pain keeps coming back, and the easiest way to fix it without pills, shots, or surgery. I'm going to show you.
Hey, gentlemen. Hey, Speaker. Appreciate it. Good to see you all. Hey, so here's Congresswoman.
Senator Graham.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you. With a grant that's been canceled or reduced, you would be glad to talk to them.
Yes, Senator, and I have been doing that as well.
There have been Democratic members who called you,
They have spoken to my office, yes, Senator.
and you've tried to respond.
On either side of course, if it has anything to do with law
So-
enforcement or victims,
And that includes Senator Durbin. If he's got a problem, he can call you and you'll try to respond.
absolutely.
Thank you. How many illegal immigrants are in Chicago?
Ooh.
Does anybody know?
I do, countless. What we have seen since January 20th, Senator Graham, is a 1,000% increase in violent attacks against our island. If I may add one thing.
I would make two brief observations. Number one, it is interesting as our Democrat colleagues defend these nationwide injunctions that neither of them made any reference to the fact that the number of nationwide injunctions issued in the first 4 months is greater than the entire 20th century and is greater than all of the nationwide injunctions issued against Bush, Obama, and Biden combined, nor did they address the disturbing fact that of the 40 universal injunctions that have been issued in the last 4 months, 35 of them came from the same 5 judicial districts. There is a reason for this. Blue state attorneys general and radical leftist groups are seeking out affirmatively radical judges who they know will impose their own policy preferences. If it were simply, as our Democrat colleagues said, judges following the law, then you wouldn't have to keep going to the same radical judges over and over and over again, because judges across the board should do that. But the litigants know exactly who the zealots are that are on the bench, and that's who they are seeking out. I will also point out that the discussion about the urgency of protecting the safety of judges. Listen, I agree. We should protect the safety of every federal judge, but it is interesting because my Democrat colleagues were utterly silent during 4 years of the Biden administration when you had violent mobs outside the homes of Supreme Court justices unhappy with the Supreme Court's ruling in Dobbs, and the Biden Justice Department refused to enforce federal law and protect the justices. And my Democrat colleagues were perfectly happy with Supreme Court justices being threatened if they disliked the rulings that were coming from the Supreme Court justices. Unlike my colleagues, I believe we should protect judges regardless of whether I agree with them or not. We should protect their safety. And every time you hear a Democrat senator talk about protecting judges from acts of violence, you ought to ask them, why did they not have a word to say about the Biden Justice Department allowing mobs to threaten the families and children of Supreme Court justices night after night after night while Biden's Attorney General refused to follow the law? And with that,
Mr. Chairman, would you indulge me for a moment?
We indulge you every moment.
I appreciate that act of generosity. It's just something you said that I think is actually dangerous and should be addressed, and you're welcome. But when Judge Anderol was killed in New Jersey, the Republican colleagues in the Senate, their outpouring of support, their outpouring of concern, they're willing to work together on a bipartisan bill was extraordinary. It shows the truth of this institution that despite some of the fiery rhetoric that you were sowing, we're really a bipartisan, working bipartisanship. Cornyn and Coons, after the incidents you're talking about, got together and actually passed a bill to better protect our Supreme Court justices, many of whom are friends of ours. You know, Gorsuch and I disagree on a lot of stuff. I knew his wife before he did. We studied together at Oxford. This implication that there was silence when there were threats on their people's houses is absolutely absurd. I remember the rhetoric and the comments, the concern from Coons. I actually distinctly remember you, Chairman, on more than once condemning those attacks on Republican-appointed jurists. To say things like that feeds just the partisanship in this institution and feeds the fiery rhetoric. And it's just plain not true. It's just plain not true. And I think you know that, but we
Mr. Speaker, it's good to see you. Thanks for the time. Your reaction to President Trump's announced peace deal between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Major. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Senator Mullen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to get a little factual on what Mr. O'Brien just said about right-to-work states versus forced work states. According to the compensation data report of the U.S. Commerce Department, an average salary for private sector employee in 2019 was $4,000 higher than the average employee in forced union states, stating that right-to-work states pay more. Now, if we also want to break this down to statistics, which was quoted earlier by Mr. O'Brien, about wage increase on unionized workers from 2020 to 2023, if you go back to the percentage of union workers, because if unions was working so well, then you'd see an increase in union jobs, not a decrease. 50 years ago, 33% of our labor force was union. Today, it's 10.1%. If you go back and you start looking at wage earned, if you actually compare comparable wages to ages, not a partisan point, but you go to all wages earned, not just comparing 16 and over to 54 to 64-year-old ages, you'll see that the actual average, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that if you subtract the union dues, it's actually higher. Non-union employees are getting paid by roughly 1 to 2%, which is exactly what union dues are, is 1 to 2% of their salary. So I just wanted to set the record straight on that, and that's coming from statistics, all right? Now, let's talk about Mr. O'Brien himself, his behavior. As everybody knows, and it's here in the last time, him and I kind of had a back and forth. Appreciate your demeanor today. It's quite different. But after you left here, you got pretty excited about the keyboard. In fact, you tweeted at me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And let me read what the last one said. It said, greedy CEO who pretends like he's self-made. Sir, I wish he was in the truck with me when I was building my plumbing company. Myself and my wife was running the office because I sure remember working pretty hard and long hours. Pretends like he's self-made. What a clown. Fraud. Always has been, always will be. Quit the tough guy act in these Senate hearings. You know where to find me. Any place, anytime, cowboy. Sir, this is a time, this is a place. If you want to run your mouth, we can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big guy.
Oh, stop it.
Is that your
All right.
solution every problem?
No, sit down. Sit down. Look at you. You know, you're a United States Senator. Sit down.
Active.
Oh, okay.
Sit down, please.
All right.
Can I respond, Mr.
Hold
Chairman?
it. Hold it. If
Hold
we
on.
can't, no,
This is
I have
what
the
he
mic.
said.
I'm sorry.
This is
Hold
what
it.
he said.
You'll have your time.
Okay.
Can I respond?
Oh, no, you can't. This is a hearing. And God knows the American people have enough of contempt for Congress. Let's not
I don't
make
like
it worse.
thugs and bullies.
You have,
And that's
you
what-
have
I don't
the
like
mic.
you because you
Hold
just
it.
described yourself.
Hold it. You have the mic.
Yeah.
You have time.
All right.
Make your statement.
Then let's do this, because I did challenge you and I accepted your challenge, and you went quiet.
No, I didn't go quiet.
hold on.
You challenged me to a cage match, acting like a 12-year-old schoolyard
Hold it.
bully.
Excuse me. Hold it. No, excuse me. I have the
I
mic.
will say exactly.
Senator Mullen, I have the mic. You have questions on any economic issues, anything that said, go for it. We're not here to talk about physical abuse.
You brought.
We're not
him
talking
in.
about. Of course, I
And,
did.
and let me show you his hearing, because I want to expose this thug to who he is. And
Could you not point at me? That's disrespectful.
I don't care about respecting you at all. I
don't
respect people
respect
that I
you at all.
respect. So
All right, hold it.
let me
Hold it. No.
You're one of
Now,
100 of the most
hold
elite
it,
people.
please.
Act it.
Please. All right? This is excuse me. This is a hearing to discuss economic issues. All right? If you have questions for Mr. O'Brien or anybody else on what he has said, go for it. But we're not here to talk about fights or anything else.
I'm quoting exactly what he said.
You can say what you want.
This is your witness
This
you
is
brought,
my
and
witness.
I'm exposing him.
You can
as a
talk
person
anything
who
you want.
is. So in
But no fight-
2013,
Nope.
in 2013, O'Brien was suspended by the Teamsters for intimidating your own members. In 2014, you were part of, what would you say, organizing the harassment and intimidation of the Top Shelf crew.
Chef, not chef.
Top Chef. Okay, and then and I think in the reports they said sexual, racist, and homophobic slurs and death threats. 14 tires were sliced, and 5 Teamsters were arrested. And you said, "Well, I had nothing to do with it." But however, in that same statement, you said, "But if I get called to testify, I'll plead the fifth." This is a witness you brought in here. In 2017, you were removed as lead negotiator by then President Hoffa for UPS for your actions. And then in 22, when this guy was elected, what he said after he got elected was he wanted to bring the mob mentality back to the Teamsters. This is your guy.
And you're obviously going to give him a chance to respond to your questions.
Absolutely, because this is my question. Because you called me out. I didn't call you out.
Yeah, you did.
You said anytime, any place.
That's that. Let's get the record straight.
Miss, hold it. No.
Hold on.
Senator Mullen, do you have a question for the witness?
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, anytime, any place.
No, that's
April is a charity event.
No, that's not.
No, it's a sir. He said it, and this is my
He is
time,
here to
you
tell.
didn't set
No,
parameters on what the questions can or cannot be asked, and I'll ask.
no,
the
you're not going to.
question.
We're not going to be talking about
Yes,
physical confrontation.
Oh, this is about charity for a union charity because this is for firefighters. And
Do you have a question on his testimony?
April.
Grow up,
April
will you
next
please?
You have
grow
a
up. You're an
question
embarrassment.
on his. Let's not
You
be.
said it.
You're an embarrassment.
You said
You're
it,
an
and I'm just
embarrassment.
simply answering it.
You
Senator
reached
Mullen,
out
go
to
hold
your
it.
buddies.
Hold it. Senator Mullen, you made some charges.
Charges?
Mr. O'Brien, do you want to respond to
Yeah, go
the
ahead,
question?
please.
Yeah, I mean, look, the reality of it is,
Except my challenge
Mr.
stuff, guy.
Mullen, tough guy.
Hold it. Answer the questions.
All right, you're one. He made a lot of statements, right? And his statements are fiction at best.
Fiction. I read them.
Can you
What?
answer the question, please?
I can't understand him, to be honest with you.
All right.
He rambles so much. What was your question, actually?
You said I made a lot of statements.
No, but what's your question? I don't understand your question. Could you repeat it?
You said anytime, any place.
What's your question?
Accept the challenge.
What challenge?
You said anytime, any place. I'm accepting yours, so why don't you come
What
back?
challenge? What challenge are you talking
April
about?
30th. How about we do it for a charity at the Smoking Guns in Tulsa, Oklahoma?
No, we're not going to be
what was the
talking about
challenge?
physical confrontations here.
You want to fight me?
What'd you say by anytime, any place?
Let's have coffee, discuss our differences.
Oh, that's what you said.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
All right, well, let's sit down and have coffee.
Let's
I'd
do
love
it.
to.
All right. I'd love to.
But
It's funny how you're backing out.
Okay.
I don't back on anything.
You did.
You're the one. You're a 100.
Senator-
Should be the most influential people in this country making changes.
Senator
You're
Hassan-
focused on.
Okay.
You're
Thank
focused
you.
on
Why did
debate
you-
that's not
Why
even
did
relevant.
Keep texting
You're an
me and they
embarrassment.
went
You're an
silent.
embarrassment.
They
Well,
went
look,
silence after
You're an embarrassment to the
high-tech.
state of
This
Oklahoma.
hearing is about the condition of the working class in America. That's what we're talking.
You're the biggest thug here.
You brought him in.
All right,
You're the biggest thug. Even
Look,
your
I don't know
colleagues call you
why
a
you do
joke.
what you're doing, Senator Hassan.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Senator
Chair.
Hassan, you got a
Senator
question?
Mullen, please yield. I've been recognized
No,
by the chair.
you got it.
Back to corner.
The
now-
microphone is yours.
Chairman Sanders, I want to thank you for this hearing.
Wrap it up. Senator Mullen wants to say a few words, and I'll say a few words.
Well, I'm going to leave the last statement from Mr. O'Brien completely alone and move on past it. If you do want to really have that cup of coffee, reach out. We'll sit down and talk about it. Now, my differences with Mr. O'Brien has nothing to do with unions. Zero. I have no problem with unions. They were actually able to live a very
Turn tomorrow for another vote to end the shutdown, but this too is expected to fail as the left is refusing to cave on the $1.5 trillion. They'll wait till after those people go home so they don't have to deal with them. Here with reaction, Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin is with us. All right, so it doesn't look like it's going to open tomorrow. Republicans, they've offered a clean CR, fund the government at current levels while you negotiate these things out. Okay, seems reasonable. How do they get to demand $1.5 trillion?
Well, because you have Chucky Schumer running it. Chucky Schumer is so scared of AOC, which, by the way, his election isn't until 28. He can't get out of his own way. He's got to play politics because he's a career politician, Sean. What's happened here?
Senator.
And member of the Armed Services Committee, Markwayne.
Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin. Senator, thank you so much for being with us tonight. And this does beg the question, why does Senator Schumer seem to be so confident? Possibly it's because there's been some reporting now in the Wall Street Journal that some GOP lawmakers, including Senator Thune, Leader Thurn.
You're right there. You got a long way of MAGA to go. Senator Markwayne Mullin, sir, you're actually a guy who did put your money where your mouth is when the Teamster boss stood up to you. You were like, all right, let's fight right here on the floor. Like, these guys talk tough. Ben Irby called this guy the Timu Obama. I mean, look, can we just get at least the troops funded?
Yeah, no, wouldn't you think that would be nice? But the problem that you have, Carl, is you have Marxists and jihadists running the Democrat Party today. This is not the Democrat Party of JFK anymore. This is extremists, and I'm not trying to be ugly with using the words. It is true. Look who's running that party. You have AOC, you have Bernie Sanders, you have Tlaib, you have Omar, and you have Crockett. Tell me what explains the look of the Democrat.
Senator, thanks for coming on. It's great to see you again.
All right, Senator Markwayne Mullin from Oklahoma.
What's clear is that the Democrats' actions account to an intent.
I want to bring in my guest now, Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin of Oklahoma, member of the Armed Services.
Markwayne Mullin, sir, thank you for your time. I want to take you to MSNBC on Wednesday. Here's Elizabeth Warren talking about the dire straits that Republicans are putting Americans in right now. Watch here.
There are going to be people who are going to have to make decisions about whether to make rent or pay for health insurance. There are going to be people who are just going to let their health insurance go. Mm-hmm. There are going to be people who are going to die because of these decisions.
So, Senator, I'll allow you to respond to that. Americans will die because of the...
I'll start with Senator Markwayne Mullin, Republican of Oklahoma, close confidant of President Trump, with us. Good to see you, as always.
Good to see you.
Thank you very much. Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. That is clear. Is there a single concession that Republicans should make to Democrats, at least to give the appearance that you're negotiating in good faith?
And keep in mind, we do control all three, but just for your audience, we can't carry it alone in the Senate.
Right.
Because we only have 53, we got to have 60, right? Here's the problem that we have with this. It's very hard for the Democrats to explain this. This CR that we're talking about voting, the clean CR, continuing resolution,
would fund the government at the current rates.
At the current rate and current language. This is the exact same bill that the Democrats underneath Joe Biden voted for a year ago, almost exactly, but before the shutdown. This is the same language, same funding that they voted for in December. This is the same funding, same language they voted for in January before Joe Biden left office. This is the same language that Mitch McConnell voted for in March. What is different now? The difference is because we passed one big, beautiful bill to weed out fraud, waste, and abuse in the tune of $1 trillion.
Hold on.
Right?
I'm asking a different question, though. Republicans hold the House, the Senate, and the White House. Don't you need to show the American people, A, that you're in? I'll start with Senator Markwayne Mullin, Republican of Oklahoma, close confidant of President Trump, with us. Good to see you, as always.
Good to see you.
Thank you very much. Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. That is clear. Is there a single concession that Republicans should make to Democrats, at least to give the appearance that you're negotiating in good faith?
And keep in mind, we do control all three, but just for your audience, we can't carry it alone in the Senate.
Right.
Because we only have 53, we got to have 60, right? Here's the problem that we have with this. It's very hard for the Democrats to explain this. This CR that we're talking about voting, the clean CR, continuing resolution
would fund the government at the current rates.
At the current rate and current language. This is the exact same bill that the Democrats underneath Joe Biden voted for a year ago, almost exactly, but before the shutdown. This is the same language, same funding that
The Speaker's Rooms, Washington, D.C., October 10th, 2025. I hereby appoint the Honorable Mike Boss to act as Speaker pro tempore on this day. Signed, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House of Representatives.
The prayer will be offered by the guest chaplain, Reverend Lisa Wink Schultz, Office of the Senate Chaplain, Washington, D.C.
Let us pray. God of grace, you tell us in the letter to the Galatians that the whole law is fulfilled in one simple statement. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Empower us by your Spirit to live our lives full of love.
The chair will lead the House in a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The chair lays before the House a communication.
The Honorable, the Speaker, House of Representatives, sir. Pursuant to the permission granted in Clause 2H of Rule 2 of the Rules of the U.S. House of Representatives, the clerk received the following message from the Secretary of the Senate on October 10, 2025 at 10:48 a.m. that the Senate passed without amendment House Joint Resolution 105, House Joint Resolution 106. Signed sincerely, Kevin F. McCumber, Clerk.
The chair lays before the House a communication.
The Honorable, the Speaker, House of Representatives, sir. Pursuant to the permission
Pursuant to Clause 13 of Rule 1, the House stands adjourned until 12:30 p.m. on Friday, October 10, 2025.
After an accident, it can be devastating and you don't know where to turn. But it violates.
Yields back. Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Chairman. Director Patel, before you joined the FBI, you railed against it for covering up Jeffrey Epstein's human trafficking ring. Let me refresh your memory with this clip.
It has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale? Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list.
So you finished that December 2023 interview with a challenge to the FBI and harsh words for Republicans in Congress for not getting the Epstein files out to the public. You can see this clip.
Boy pants, and let us know who the pedophiles are.
Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are, you said. You emphasized that the president and FBI director each had complete authority to release Epstein's client list. You said Epstein's black book is under the, quote, direct control of the director of the FBI. Look at this clip.
This is way off the topic, but who has Jeffrey Epstein's
black book?
Black book.
FBI.
But who? That is, I mean, there's...
Oh, that's under direct control of the director of the FBI.
All right, so you were sworn in as director more than 200 days ago. Now the black book is under your direct control. So why haven't you released the names of Epstein's co-conspirators in the rape and sex trafficking of young women and girls?
The Rolodex, which is what everybody colloquially refers to as the Black Book, has been released.
Oh, no, you're talking about what the journalist got 5 years ago? No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what you were talking about there,
That's
the Black
exactly
Book
what I
under
was
the direct control of the FBI director.
We have released more material than anyone else before. The Biden administration, Obama administration had the exact opportunities to release this material, and they never did. And if you are telling the men and women of the FBI,
Why
we're
have
not
you
going after
changed your
child
position?
predators. Hang on, you said we're not going after child predators. 1,500 child predators arrested this year, 35% increase.
I'll reclaim my time.
4,700 child victims
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to
found.
reclaim my time if you could instruct the witness. Why have you changed your position? There you were saying it's under the direct control of the FBI director and all of it should be released. Why have you changed your
Everything
position?
that has been lawfully permitted to be released has been released. And as I told you, the investigation was limited. And let me make something crystal clear. I never said Jeffrey Epstein didn't traffic other people, other women, and they're not other victims. This is the investigation we were given from 2006, 7, and 8, and the search warrants from 2006, 7, and 8. That's what we're working with.
Well, wait, have you released all of the stuff that the FBI has seized from Epstein's house? The computers, the emails, the file cabinets, the documents? What about the financial records? Have you released all of that?
Everything the court has allowed us to
Which
release.
court are you talking about?
3 separate federal courts have come in and said.
We're talking about the evidence you've got. It's got nothing to do with what those courts have.
Do you have any
We're talking
idea
about
how the
evidence.
law works? Do you want me to break the law in a federal judge's order?
No, I want you to
satisfy
follow your own
curiosity?
word, Director Patel. You said up there it was under the direct control of the FBI director. He had the Black Book.
Everything I have direct control over, we have gone to court. You haven't.
Complete your
We went
sentence.
to court.
Everything you have direct control over, you said.
Have gone to court, and everything we have direct
Director
control
Patel,
over.
complete your
and
sentence.
can
You said everything-
lawfully
I'd like to
release.
The
We're
gentleman-
releasing.
He'd like to complete his answer.
You began the sentence, everything you have direct control over, and then you stopped that sentence. You have released everything that you have direct control over?
I have direct control over and can lawfully release. If you're not familiar with the court orders, that's not my fault.
Oh, I'm
Go
perfectly,
look at them.
I'm
Go
perfectly
to
familiar
court.
with them. But how did we prosecute Ghislaine Maxwell?
She was prosecuted with the investigatory material.
There's a delivery driver in Roy and Riverdale getting a lot of attention tonight.
A pregnant woman landed on the right.
Drinking warm water before bed improves eyesight almost overnight. Thousands of people are already doing this.
Questions recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Patel, before you joined the FBI, you had very strong opinions about what the FBI was hiding. Bondi released one video and said that there was nothing more to see. Your July memo says you uncovered more than 300 gigabytes of data and physical evidence, but that you had decided no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted. That is a quote. I think what happened, Mr. Patel, is that suddenly you discovered that Donald Trump's name was all over these files, and you started a giant cover-up. So you are under oath, Mr. Patel. You just testified to Mr. Swalwell that you did not speak to the president about the Epstein files. To your knowledge, did Attorney General Pam Bondi speak to the president about what was in the Epstein files?
I can't speak for Attorney General Pam Bondi.
So to your knowledge, you don't have any information. The question was, do you have any knowledge? Do you have any knowledge?
I can't speak.
You are
for the
refusing to
Attorney
answer the
General
question, so
Pam
let me
Bondi.
tell you that the Wall Street Journal reported that in May, Bondi told Trump that he was in the Epstein files, and at the same meeting said that the DOJ did not plan to release the files. Yesterday, you testified to Senator Kennedy that there was, quote, no credible information that Epstein trafficked girls to anyone else, and that you have, quote, continuously and publicly asked the public to come forward with more information, and we'll look into it. Today, in response to Mr. Massey's question, you appeared to say that the survivors were not credible. These are survivors.
That's not at all what I said.
Okay, great. I'm going to ask you this in a second, but let me tell you about
then
the
don't lie about
survivors,
me.
and let's bring them up here into the room. These are women who came to the Hill and testified that they were groomed and raped at the age of 14 and 16 years old, and they called to meet with the president and to meet with the FBI and to have people investigate their claims. Some of them have never testified before. If you are so interested in getting the public to submit any information, why have you not met with them? You said you haven't met with them. Have you met with them? I'll give you one more chance.
My job as the FBI director is to invite
Is the
all
answer yes or
investigative
no
leads.
to whether or not you met with these women who were sexually abused and raped?
Any insinuation by you or any
What
people
is
on
the
your
an-
side that I am not manhunting child predators and sex traffickers, just look at the
Mr.
stats.
Patel,
And you talk
Mr.
about
Chairman,
cover-ups, man.
Mr. Chairman,
you
this
talk
is
about
my time,
cover-ups.
and I will take
Why
as much time as I
Where were
want.
you during the
Instruct
Obama
the
and
witness,
Biden
Mr.
administrations
Chairman.
when these so-called
Instruct the
cover-ups were
witness.
going on?
Mr.
Why didn't
Chairman.
anyone in those administrations talk to any of these
Mr.
purported
Chairman.
witnesses?
Let's
I
get
have
some regular
welcomed
order, Mr.
every
Chairman.
single person to provide credible information.
Time belongs to the gentlelady from Washington.
And I'm
but
gonna
when you-
take
when
another
you
couple
accuse
of
the
minutes.
witness of something, he's allowed to respond. That's how it works. You say
Listen, he
something,
didn't
you
even,
say
excuse me,
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman,
Chairman, you have
point
always
of
been
order.
fair, but this is
I'm
not
being
fair.
fair, and you will get
No,
your-
this
you will
is
get your
my
time.
and he
You will give the
said
gentlelady
that the
a few
witnesses
additional
were not credible.
seconds of time.
I'm going to get an additional minute of time because
No,
that's
you'll
how
get
much
what
time
you
he
won't get a
took.
minute. You'll get some seconds. What we think is under 5 minutes. You don't get to demand how
Mr.
much time you
Patel.
get. That's not how it works.
Mr. Patel, are the victims of the Jeffrey Epstein horrific trafficking ring, are they credible?
Any person with information about ongoing sexual trafficking.
I'm asking you if they're credible.
Ma'am, I'm
Are
commenting
they
on the
credible?
evidence we have.
But
And we have routinely asked for people to come forward with more evidence, and we will look at it. And the evidence that we have was the same evidence that the Biden and
Patel,
Obama Justice Departments
Mr.
had.
Patel,
And they
this is
determined,
new.
not me, they determined that that
Chairman,
information was
Mr.
not credible.
Chairman, he's not letting me even ask my questions.
You
This is
ask the
ridiculous.
questions, he gives an answer. You may not like what he says,
No,
but that
I'm
doesn't mean you get to
asking- he's not
interrupt
answering
him.
my question.
Mr. Chairman,
have
could we
an-
restore the gentlelady 45 seconds so she
We
can
will
complete
give her
her question?
additional 30 seconds, which is what
Anyone struggling with memory problems should try this recipe before Big Pharma bans it. Attention.
Gentleman from Kentucky is recognized for unanimous consent.
Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to submit two sets of documents. The first is a series of emails from the victims of Jeffrey Epstein. They are making FOIA requests to get their own FBI files and not having any success. So I want to bring attention to that by submitting that to the record. The second document that I want to submit to the record, for the record, I know we don't usually read these. This one's not readable. It's completely redacted for the most part, the first 50 pages. This is actually the search warrant that was served on James O'Keefe for a diary that he had already given to the government 2 months before. And as it turns out, there were no indictments here, yet he still doesn't know why he was raided, and I think he deserves to know. So,
Without objection.
Thank you.
The chair now recognizes the gentleman from California.
Director, the first time you saw Donald Trump's name was in the Epstein files. Did you close the files or keep reading?
I have reviewed not the entirety.
All of the Epstein files?
Personally, no.
You're the director of the FBI. This is the largest sex trafficking case the FBI has ever been a part of. Buck stops at the top, and your testimony today is you have not reviewed all of the files.
What I've been doing is been busy providing the safest country this country has seen in modern U.S. history in historic speed, because the men and women of the FBI are given the resources to reduce the homicide rate, to reduce the drug trafficking rate, to reduce the amount of children that are being trafficked, and the
Well,
number
it
of
sounds like
pedophiles that
those
we have
children
arrested
being
is
trafficked would
record high.
appreciate the director reviewing the files. You said you don't know the number of times Trump's name appears in the files, so it could at least be 1,000 times. Is that right?
The number is a total misleading factor. We have not
Could the
released
number at least
anyone's
be 1,000
name
times?
that we have not released anyone's
Could it
name in the
at least
Epstein
be
files
1,000
that has
times?
not been credible.
Director,
And
could it at
we have
least be 1,000
released
times?
every piece of legally permissible information.
Okay,
you can
so-
characterize the numbers however you want it.
Reclaiming my time, Director. It sounds like if you don't know the number, it could at least be 1,000 times. Which
It's not.
leads me-
It's not.
Is it at least 500 times?
No.
Is it at least 100 times?
No.
Then what's the number?
I don't know the number, but it's not that.
Do you think it might be your job to know the number?
My job is to provide for the safety and security of this country. My job is not to engage in political
And that
innuendo
includes protecting
so you can go
sexual
out to the
assault victims.
sticks and get your 20-second hit in your fundraising
reclaiming my
article.
time,
And
Director.
keep going, reclaiming your time, because the
Director,
people of California
If
are being
Trump- if the
underserved by
president-
your
If the
representation.
president is not implicated, why not release everything that involves
We
him?
have released everything, the president and anyone else's side, that is credible and lawfully be able to be released. Your fixation on this matter and baseless accusations that I'm hiding
also
child
Mr. Mass's
pedophiles is disgusting.
interest.
Anyone that says that needs to look at the stats alone and go back to the state of California, who's receiving the biggest surge in FBI resources through my redeployment because the cities of Los Angeles, San Diego, and San
Reclaiming
Francisco
my time,
need it.
Director. Remembering your oath to tell the truth, did you ever tell Donald Trump his name is in the files?
I have never spoken to President Trump about the Epstein files.
Did you ever tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
The Attorney General and I have had numerous discussions about the entirety of the Epstein files. And
For nearly 50 years, Harbor Freight has been a reliable source for the widest variety of tools at affordable prices. And our tools keep getting better with time. Better performance,
who were on the phone listening to the president talk about this swap of dirt for U.S. military aid.
Chris, so far, the evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election. And the complaint that I've heard from Republicans all last week was that you don't have anyone who heard the call.
Chair recognizes Mr. Crane from Arizona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to say thank you to the guests for showing up today. Since I only have 5 minutes, my first question is going to be a yes or no. Does D.C. have a crime problem, Mayor Bowser?
Any crime is too much crime, Mr. Crane, but we're trending in the right direction.
Sorry, just yes or no?
It's not a yes or no question.
Okay. Chairman Mendelson, does D.C. have a crime problem, yes or no?
There is more crime than we want, but it is significantly
All right, I'm moving
less.
on since you can't follow the instructions. Attorney General, does D.C. have a crime problem, yes or no?
One crime is one too many. We got to keep working at it.
Mr. Jackson?
One crime is one too many. I agree.
Thank you. Do you guys know where D.C. ranks amongst U.S. cities in crime, Mayor Bowser?
In what category?
Crime rates.
You would have to be more specific, and I don't
It's okay.
have a list
It's
of
okay.
other cities.
You guys
or
actually
states.
rank number 7.
Okay.
So you're in the top 10 of most violent cities in the United States, and this is, as other members have pointed out, our city's, our nation's capital. A lot of people come here. And Mayor, I know you, like many of my colleagues have already mentioned, you got a very tough job, and we all appreciate that.
It all depends on how you crunch the numbers.
Hold on a second. I didn't ask you a question.
News and World Report didn't
Has
place us in
crime
the
gone
top
down?
25.
Hey, hold on a second. I'm asking the questions here. Has crime gone down since the president deployed the National Guard and other federal agencies, Mayor Bowser?
I already mentioned, Congressman, the numbers during the federal surge.
So it has gone down?
It accelerated, yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mendelson, you said in criticism to the National Guard being present in D.C., you said that they looked bored. I'm going to ask you a question, sir. Would you rather have National Guardsmen standing posts around D.C. looking bored but driving down crime, or continue to be ranked in the top 10 in the country in violent crime?
Well,
with
as
no
I was
guardsmen?
trying to say, depending upon how you look at the data, we don't even place in the top 25. Now, in my testimony, I outlined
That's definitely not the
ways-
reporting that I've seen.